The Russian Revolution was one of the most important events of the 1900s. It changed Russia from a country ruled by a king called a czar into a communist country led by workers. It ended hundreds of years of royal rule and helped begin a new kind of government. It also led to the rise of the Soviet Union, which would become one of the most powerful countries in the world. Before the revolution, Russia was ruled by Tsar Nicholas II. He and his family lived in great luxury, but most of the people were very poor. Many were farmers who did not own their land. Others worked in factories for long hours and low pay. The government did not allow people to vote or speak freely. People who spoke out against the government could be arrested or even killed. In 1905, there was already trouble in Russia. Workers and their families marched to the Tsar's palace to ask for better conditions. Soldiers fired on them. This day became known as Bloody Sunday. After that, strikes and protests spread across the country. The Tsar promised some changes, like creating a group called the Duma to help make laws, but he still kept most of the power for himself. Many people were still unhappy. Then came World War I. Russia joined the war in 1914, but its army was not ready. Soldiers did not have enough guns, food, or clothes. Millions of soldiers died. The war also hurt people at home. Food and fuel were hard to find. Prices went up. People stood in long lines to buy bread. Many began to blame the Tsar for these problems. By early 1917, the situation was worse than ever. In March 1917, workers in the capital city, Petrograd, now called St. Petersburg, went on strike. Women marched in the streets asking for bread. More and more people joined. Soldiers were sent to stop them, but many soldiers refused to shoot. Some even joined the protests. Soon, the Tsar had no choice. He gave up the throne on March 15, 1917. This was the end of the Russian Empire. A new government was formed, called the Provisional Government. It was made up of leaders from the Duma. They wanted to build a democracy in Russia, but they also chose to keep Russia in World War I. Many people did not agree with that decision. At the same time, another group was gaining power. These were the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks were a group of communists led by a man named Vladimir Lenin. They believed the workers should take control of the country. They did not trust the provisional government. Lenin had been living outside of Russia, but he returned in April 1917. He began to give speeches and write articles. His message was simple: peace, land, and bread. He promised to end the war, give land to the peasants, and feed the hungry. The Bolsheviks grew stronger over the next few months. They gained support from workers, soldiers, and sailors. In November 1917, October by the old Russian calendar, they took action. They took over important buildings in Petrograd, including the Winter Palace. This was called the October Revolution. The provisional government was removed. The Bolsheviks were now in charge. After the revolution, Lenin and the Bolsheviks began making big changes. They signed a peace treaty with Germany to end Russia's part in the war. They gave land to peasants and took over factories. Banks and businesses were controlled by the government. Many people supported these changes, but others were angry. Not everyone wanted a communist government. Some people wanted the Tsar back. Others wanted a different kind of democracy. This led to a civil war between the Reds and the Whites. The Reds were the Bolsheviks and their supporters. The Whites were made up of people who did not want the Bolsheviks to rule. The Civil War lasted from 1918 to 1921. It was very violent. Many people died, and the country was badly damaged. During the Civil War, the former Tsar and his family were killed. They had been held as prisoners since the Tsar gave up power. In July 1918, they were executed by the Bolsheviks. This ended the Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for over 300 years. The Bolsheviks won the Civil War. In 1922, they formed a new country called the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or the USSR. Lenin became its first leader. He began building a communist system where the government owned everything. People were supposed to be equal. But in practice, the government had great control over people's lives. The Russian Revolution was a turning point in history. It ended royal rule in Russia. It brought communism to power for the first time. It inspired other revolutions in the world, but it also led to years of struggle, fear, and control. Later, under leaders like Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union became very powerful, but also very harsh. The revolution showed how people can rise up when they are suffering. It also showed how new ideas can change a country, but not always in the way people hope.